The massive council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates from 200 species gathered for an emergency session. Ambassador Bo-Ram Song sat in her assigned seat, watching the alien faces around her twist with fear and anger. She had expected this reaction, but seeing it made her stomach tighten. The Galactic Council leader, a tall being with silver skin and multiple eyes, raised his staff for silence. "We are here because of a disturbing report. The humans have entered the Crimson Nebula region." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several delegates stood up, their voices rising in panic. "This is madness," shouted the Corvan representative, his blue scales shimmering under the lights. "That region has been forbidden for 10,000 years. No species has ever survived there," added another delegate, her tentacles waving frantically. "The humans will die, and their deaths will be on our conscience." Bo-Ram stood up slowly. The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to her. "Honored delegates, my people appreciate your concern, but we have not entered blindly." "Concern?" The Corvan delegate's voice cracked. "Ambassador Song, you do not understand. The Crimson Nebula is not just dangerous. It is death itself. We have lost entire fleets trying to explore that region." Bo-Ram kept her voice steady. "We know the risks, but sometimes taking risks is what humans do best." The council leader struck his staff again. Perhaps the ambassador would explain how this happened. Start from the beginning. Bo-Ram nodded and activated the holographic display. Images of space appeared above the delegates, showing the edge of known galaxy. 6 months ago, our exploration, Vessel Soul's Pride was conducting routine surveys near the nebula's edge. Captain Hyunwoo Kim commanded the mission. The scene shifted to show Captain Hyunwoo standing on the bridge of his ship. He was a man in his 40s, with weathered hands and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. "Captain," said Communications Officer Ji-Won Choi, looking up from her console, "we're receiving another warning beacon. Same message as the others." "What does it say this time?" Hyunwoo asked. "Death waits in the red mist. Turn back or join the void." Ji-Won shook her head. "It's in 47 different languages. Someone really wanted to make sure everyone got the message." Dr. Yoon-ji Park, the ship's chief scientist, studied the readings on her screen. "The radiation signature is unlike anything in our databases. It seems to pulse in patterns." "Patterns?" Hyunwoo moved to look over her shoulder. "Almost like it's alive," Yoon-ji said. "But that's impossible. Radiation doesn't behave this way." Engineer Tae-ho Lee spoke up from his station. "Captain, our systems are reading everything as normal. Whatever's causing problems for other species, it doesn't seem to affect our technology." Hyunwoo stared at the swirling red clouds ahead. Other captains would have turned back. The smart choice was to follow the warnings, but humans had not reached the stars by making only smart choices. "Take us in," he ordered. "Sir?" Ji-Won looked uncertain. "You heard me. Take us into the nebula." Slowly, the Soul's Pride moved forward into the red mist. The crew watched their instruments carefully, expecting system failures or power loss. Nothing happened. Their ship continued to function perfectly. "This is strange," Tae-ho said. "According to the historical records, ships lose power within minutes of entering this region." "Maybe the records are wrong," Ji-Won suggested. Yoon-ji shook her head. "No. Look at these readings. The radiation levels are exactly what the warnings described. But our shielding is holding." They flew deeper into the nebula. The red mist grew thicker around them, but their ship remained unaffected. After 2 hours, they found something that changed everything. "Captain," Yoon-ji called out, excitement in her voice. "I'm reading a planet ahead, and according to these scans, it's habitable." "Habitable?" Hyunwoo moved to her station. "In this radiation field?" "Not just habitable. The electromagnetic storms that other species can't survive seem to have created a unique atmosphere. The planet has weather patterns unlike anything we've ever seen." Tae-ho studied his engineering displays. "The radiation isn't hurting our systems. If anything, our power efficiency has improved by 15%. That's impossible, Ji-won said. Check it again, Hyun-woo ordered. Tae-ho ran the diagnostics twice more. Confirmed, Captain. Our systems are running better in here than in normal space. They landed on the planet's surface. The world was beautiful in a wild way. Lightning danced across purple skies while strange plants grew in spirals that seemed to follow the electromagnetic patterns. The radiation that would kill most aliens felt comfortable to the humans. Dr. Yoon-ji made the discovery that would change everything. While studying the effects of the nebula's radiation on the human crew, she found something remarkable. Captain, you need to see this, she said, staring at her medical scanner. What is it? The radiation is affecting us, but not the way it affects other species. Our neural activity has increased by 12%. Our reflexes are faster. Our problem-solving abilities have improved. Hyun-woo looked at the readings. Are you saying this environment is making us smarter? And stronger and faster, Yoon-ji confirmed. Whatever killed the other species is actually enhancing us. Back in the council chamber, Bo-ram paused her story. The alien delegate sat in stunned silence. You're telling us the Forbidden Zone makes humans stronger? The Corvin delegate asked. That's exactly what I'm telling you, Bo-ram replied. She continued her report. After the Soul's Pride returned with their findings, the human government made a bold decision. They would establish the first colony in the Crimson Nebula. The colony ship New Seoul arrived 3 months later, carrying 50,000 volunteers. They built their settlement on the planet Captain Hyun-woo had discovered, naming it New Busan. The colonists thrived in ways no one expected. The radiation that created devastating storms also provided unlimited energy. The electromagnetic fields that scrambled alien technology powered human machines more efficiently than fusion reactors. Within weeks, New Busan had grown from a small outpost to a thriving city. The enhanced humans worked faster and thought clearer than ever before. They solved engineering problems in hours that had taken months on Earth. The colony now has a population of 200,000, Bo-ram told the council. More ships arrive, every week. We are not dying in your Forbidden Zone, we are thriving. The council chamber erupted in confused chatter. Some delegates looked afraid, others seemed angry. A few appeared curious. This changes everything, the council leader said, finally. If humans can survive where no other species can, what does that mean for the balance of power in the galaxy? Bo-ram smiled. It means that perhaps some barriers exist to be broken. The Crimson Nebula was never meant to be forbidden. It was waiting for the right species to call it home. As she spoke, reports were already spreading across the galaxy. Humanity had claimed a region that had remained untouched for millennia. The implications would ripple through every civilization in known space. Some species would see opportunity. Others would see threat. But one thing was certain. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The Forbidden Zone was forbidden no more. Su Binyang moved through the twisted metal corridors like a ghost. Her enhanced senses picked up sounds that normal humans would miss. The ancient machinery around her hummed with deadly purpose, but she felt no fear. 3 months in the nebula had changed her in ways that still surprised her. Control, this is Scout 7, she whispered into her communicator. I've found the source of the attacks. General Dong-hyun Park's voice crackled back through the static. What are you seeing, Su-bin? It's huge. The entire asteroid is artificial. Some kind of automated defense system. She peered around a corner at massive machines that moved on their own. These things have been sleeping for a very long time. How long? Su-bin studied the alien writing on the walls. The symbols seemed to shift and dance before her eyes, but somehow she could understand them. According to these markings, they've been here for over 50,000 years. Back on New Busan, Jaemin Kang stood in the colony's command center, watching reports flood in from across the nebula. The attacks had started 2 weeks ago. Massive mechanical creatures emerged from hidden bases and struck human settlements without warning. Sir, his aide said, bringing him the latest casualty reports. 3 more mining stations went silent in the last hour. Jaemin studied the tactical display. The attacks followed no pattern that human military doctrine could explain. The machines, seemed to appear from nowhere, destroy everything they found, then vanish back into the red mist. "What's the status on our evacuation plans?" he asked. "General Park says we're not evacuating. He wants to fight." Jae-min nodded. He had expected this response. Humans had not come this far just to run at the first sign of trouble. Miles away, in a command bunker buried deep beneath New Busan's surface, General Dong-hyun studied reconnaissance footage of the mechanical attackers. They were unlike anything in human or alien databases. The machines moved with perfect coordination as if controlled by a single intelligence. "Sir," his communications officer called out. "Scout 7 is reporting something new. Put her through." Subin's voice filled the room. "General, I understand what these things are. They're not trying to destroy us because they hate us. They're testing us." "Testing us how?" "The machines only attack when they detect large groups or advanced technology, but they ignore individual humans who move carefully. It's like they're looking for something specific." Dr. Yoon-ji Park entered the command center, carrying a datapad filled with her latest research. "General, I think Scout Yang might be right. I've been studying the attack patterns and they're not random." "Explain." "Each attack targets a different aspect of our capabilities. First they hit our communications arrays, then our power plants. Now they're going after our manufacturing facilities." Yoonji showed him the data on her pad. "It's like they're running us through a series of challenges." General Dong-hyun frowned. "You're saying these machines are giving us some kind of test?" "That's exactly what I'm saying. And I think we're passing." Meanwhile, outside the nebula, the political situation grew more dangerous each day. The hegemony, a coalition of 12 aggressive species, had been waiting for an excuse to move against humanity. The reports of humans thriving in the Forbidden Zone gave them that excuse. Admiral Kresh of the hegemony fleet stood before his war council. His red eyes gleamed with anticipation. "The humans have overreached. While they are trapped in the nebula, fighting their ancient machines, we will cut off their escape routes." "What if they defeat these defenders?" asked his second-in-command. "Then, we make sure they never leave the nebula to tell anyone about it." Kresh's claws scraped against the metal table. "The galaxy does not need a species that can survive in places where others cannot." Back in the nebula, Subin had penetrated deeper into the mechanical fortress than any human before her. The machines paid her no attention as long as she moved, with purpose, and showed no fear. She began to understand their logic. The ancient builders had created these guardians to test anyone who entered their domain. But the tests were not meant to destroy, they were meant to teach. "General," she reported, "I've found something incredible. These machines have been waiting for someone like us." "What do you mean?" "The builders, whoever they were, they left instructions. Not in any language we know, but I can read them somehow. They say the nebula is a training ground." "Training for what?" Subin looked at the massive chamber around her, filled with sleeping machines that could reshape matter itself. "For inheriting their legacy." Dr. Yoonji's research confirmed what Subin had discovered. The radiation in the nebula did more than enhance human capabilities. It allowed them to interface with the ancient technology in ways that other species could not. "The builders call themselves the Vanguard," she explained to the gathered officers. "They didn't die out or get conquered. They chose to leave this region behind, but first they built a testing system." "Testing for what?" General Dong-hyun asked. "For the species that would replace them. They were looking for beings who could adapt instead of just relying on technology, who could work together under pressure, who could see challenges as opportunities instead of threats." The general looked around the room at his enhanced officers. Each of them had grown stronger and more capable since entering the nebula. "And they think we're that species?" "The tests are getting more complex," Yoonji said. "But we're passing every one. The machines are teaching us how to use their technology by forcing us to overcome it." Outside the nebula, hegemony fleets moved into position around every known exit point. Admiral Kresh had convinced himself that he was saving the galaxy from a dangerous new threat. In reality, he was about to learn that some threats are more dangerous when cornered. Subin reached the heart of the Vanguard facility. In the center, stood a pillar of crystalline material that pulsed with the same rhythm as the nebula's radiation. When she touched it, knowledge flooded her mind. She saw the history of the Vanguard, a species that had grown beyond the need for physical existence but wanted to leave something behind for those who came after. The nebula was their gift to the future. "General," she called, her voice filled with wonder, "I know why the aliens fear this place so much. The Vanguard didn't just leave technology behind. They left the tools to transcend the limits of biology and physics." "What kind of tools?" Subin looked at her hands. They were glowing with a soft light that came from within. The nebula's radiation had changed her at the cellular level, and now the Vanguard's machines recognized her as worthy of their secrets. "The kind that could change the entire galaxy," she said. As the hegemony fleets tightened their blockade, they had no idea that inside the nebula, humanity was about to inherit technologies that would make their greatest weapons look like primitive clubs. The second test was nearly complete. Soon it would be time for the third. Minho Seo felt his mind expanding as he connected with the Vanguard interface. The crystalline console responded to his thoughts, showing him images from across the galaxy's history. Dozens of species had tried to claim the Vanguard's legacy. All had failed. What made them fail? He asked the ancient machine. The response came not in words but in understanding. The other species had approached the trials with conquest in mind. They wanted the Vanguard's power for themselves, to dominate others. The tests were designed to eliminate such thinking. "The Vanguard were teachers," Minho reported to the research team. "Everything here is meant to guide worthy successors, not create new conquerors." Dr. Woojin Nam studied the data flowing from Minho's neural interface. "The complexity is incredible. Each test builds on the previous one, not just in difficulty but in moral reasoning." Outside the nebula, the political situation grew more desperate. Diplomat Haejin Kim stood before the Hegemony Council, trying to prevent open war. "Honored members, you are making a mistake," she said, her voice steady despite the hostile faces around her. "Humanity seeks cooperation, not domination." Admiral Kresh slammed his fist on the table. "Cooperation? Your species has claimed a region that has remained untouched for millennia. You grow stronger by the day while the rest of us remain static. We have offered to share our discoveries," Heejin reminded them. "Your own scientists could study the nebula's effects." "Under human supervision," sneered another council member. "You want us to become dependent on your generosity." Haejin realized that fear had overwhelmed reason. The hegemony would not be satisfied with anything less than humanity's complete withdrawal from the nebula. Inside the nebula, the trials continued. Human colonies faced challenges that tested not just their survival skills, but their willingness to help others. When earthquake-like gravitational waves struck New Busan, the colonists could have focused solely on protecting their own city. Instead, they coordinated rescue efforts across the entire region. This choice unlocked the next phase of Vanguard technology. Min Ho found himself able to interface with machines that could manipulate matter at the molecular level. With a thought, he could repair damaged equipment or create new materials from raw elements. "The power is incredible," he told Woojin. "But it only responds when I'm thinking about helping others. If I try to use it for personal gain, it shuts down." The Vanguard built moral constraints into their technology, Woojin observed. They wanted to ensure their successors would use power responsibly. The third trial arrived in the form of a massive spatial anomaly that threatened to tear apart several human settlements. The Vanguard machines provided the tools to stop it, but only if the humans could work together perfectly. Colony Administrator Jae-min coordinated the effort from New Busan. "We need every settlement to contribute, not just the large colonies, but the mining stations and research outposts too. Some of them barely have enough power for life support," his aide pointed out. "Then we'll share what we have," Jae-min decided. "No one gets left behind." The human response impressed even the Vanguard systems. Instead of sacrificing smaller settlements to save larger ones, they found ways to protect everyone. The spatial anomaly was not just stopped, but converted into a stable energy source. This success unlocked access to Vanguard shipbuilding technology. The first human ship built with Vanguard principles was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The vessel, named Hope of Soul, could travel faster than any known engine allowed. Its hull was made from materials that could repair themselves. Its weapons were designed to disable rather than destroy. When news of this ship reached the hegemony, panic spread through their ranks. "They have technology that makes our fleets obsolete," Admiral Kresh reported to his superiors. "If we're going to act, it must be now, before they build more ships." The hegemony made their fatal mistake. They decided to attack human colonies outside the nebula, hoping to force humanity to abandon their trials. The assault began with simultaneous strikes on 3 human worlds. Billions of civilians found themselves under bombardment from species they had considered neutral neighbors. In the nebula, alarms rang throughout every human settlement. General Dong-hyun received the terrible news in his command center. "Sir," his aide said, voice shaking, "they're targeting civilian populations. The death toll is already in the millions." The general felt rage build inside him, but he forced himself to think clearly. The Vanguard trials had taught humanity that the right response was not always the obvious one. "Prepare the Hope of Soul for immediate departure," he ordered. "But remember, we are not conquerors, we are protectors." Minho piloted the Hope of Soul through hyperspace, reaching the besieged human worlds in hours rather than days. What he found there tested his resolve more than any Vanguard trial. Entire cities lay in ruins. Refugee camps overflowed with survivors. The hegemony fleets continued their bombardment, targeting hospitals and schools with ruthless efficiency. "I could destroy their entire fleet with a thought," Minho told his crew. "The ship's weapons could turn their vessels into dust." "But?" asked his tactical officer. "But that would make us no different from them." Minho studied the tactical display. "The Vanguard didn't give us these tools to become better killers. They gave them to us to become better protectors. Instead of destroying the hegemony fleet, the Hope of Soul did something unprecedented. It used its advanced technology to disable every enemy weapon without harming a single crew member. The hegemony ships found themselves floating helplessly. In space, their weapon systems simply gone. Then Minho did something that shocked the galaxy. He offered medical assistance to the enemy crews. "This is Captain Minho, CO of the human vessel Hope of Soul," he broadcast to the disabled ships. "We are sending medical teams to assist with any injuries. We fight your actions, not your people." The hegemony crews were confused and frightened. They had expected death or enslavement. Instead, human medics boarded their ships and treated their wounded with the same care they would give to human casualties. This act of mercy had consequences that rippled across the galaxy. Several hegemony species began to question their leaders' claims about human aggression. If humans truly sought galactic domination, why were they healing their enemies? Back in the nebula, the Vanguard systems registered humanity's response to the crisis. A new level of trials became available, tests that previous species had never even seen. "We're approaching something the Vanguard called the final sequence," Woojin reported. "But the requirements are unlike anything we've encountered." "What do they want?" General Dong-hyun asked. Woojin looked at the readings with wonder and concern. "They want us to choose between ultimate power and ultimate responsibility. We can gain technology that would make us invincible, but only if we promise to use it in service of all life, not just human life." The 4th trial had begun. Humanity would soon face a choice that would determine not just their own future, but the fate of every species in the galaxy. Admiral Young-Soo Han stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching hegemony vessels maintain their blockade around the nebula's exit points. 3 months had passed since the first attacks on human colonies, and the political situation continued to worsen. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving signals from inside the nebula. The enhanced humans are requesting permission to break the blockade." Young-Soo studied the tactical display. His conventional fleet was outnumbered 3-1, but the reports from inside the nebula suggested that numbers might not matter anymore. "What's the status on our people inside the Forbidden Zone?" "According to the latest reports, they're undergoing some kind of transformation. The Vanguard trials are changing them in ways we don't fully understand. Inside the nebula, So-Young Lee experienced changes that would have terrified her months ago. Her consciousness could now interface directly with Vanguard systems, allowing her to understand technologies that had no equivalent in human science. "I can see the entire nebula as if it were a single organism," she reported to the research team. "Every system is connected, every test builds toward a single goal." "What goal?" Dr. Wu Jin asked. "Creating guardians worthy of the Vanguard legacy, but not just for humanity, for all life in the galaxy." The implications were staggering. The Vanguard had not simply left behind advanced technology. They had created a system to evolve their successors into something greater than any single species could become. Meanwhile, the hegemony's tactics grew more desperate. Unable to break humanity's defenses, they began targeting neutral worlds that traded with human space. Admiral Kresh believed that economic pressure would force humanity to abandon the nebula. He was wrong. Kyung-Ho Park led human resistance cells behind enemy lines. His enhanced abilities allowed him to move through hostile territory like a phantom, disrupting hegemony supply chains and gathering intelligence. "The enemy is more fragmented than they appear," he reported during a covert meeting with resistance leaders. "Several species are having second thoughts about this war." "Which ones?" asked his second-in-command. "The Altarians withdrew their fleets last week. The Visteri are refusing to target civilian populations. The hegemony is losing support every time they escalate violence." Back in the nebula, humanity faced their greatest trial yet. The Vanguard systems presented them with a choice that would determine their ultimate destiny. So-Young stood before the central consciousness of the ancient machines. The entity that spoke to her was not artificial intelligence as humans understood it, but something far more advanced. "You have progressed further than any species before, it told her. "But the final test requires perfect understanding of responsibility." "What must we choose?" So-Young asked. "Power unlimited, or wisdom eternal. Your species can inherit technology that would make you masters of the galaxy. You would be invincible, unstoppable, supreme over all other life. And the alternative? You become teachers, as we became teachers. You guide other species toward their own ascension. You use your abilities not to rule, but to elevate." So-Young felt the weight of the choice. Power meant safety for humanity, but isolation from the rest of the galaxy. Wisdom meant vulnerability, but the possibility of lifting all species to new heights. "How long do we have to decide?" "The choice must be made soon. Your enemies gather. Strength and your people outside the nebula suffer. Power would allow you to end their suffering immediately." Outside the nebula, the situation had indeed grown critical. The hegemony blockade prevented supply ships from reaching human colonies. Food shortages began affecting civilian populations. Admiral Young-Soo received emergency orders from Earth. "Break the blockade by any means necessary. Our people are dying." The Admiral looked at his officers. Good people all, but none enhanced by the nebula's radiation. They could not understand what humanity was becoming. "Prepare for battle," he ordered reluctantly. "But remember, we fight to defend, not to conquer." The space battle that followed would be remembered as the turning point in galactic history. Young-Soo's conventional fleet engaged the hegemony forces while inside the nebula, enhanced humans made their choice. So-Young spoke for all of humanity when she gave the Vanguard consciousness their answer. "We choose wisdom," she said. "We choose to become teachers, not masters. Even knowing that this choice makes you vulnerable, that your enemies will see mercy as weakness?" "Especially knowing that," So-Young replied. "True strength is not the power to destroy, but the wisdom." The Galactic Senate Hall had never seen such a gathering. Representatives from over 300 species filled the vast chamber, more than had ever assembled in galactic history. At the center of it all stood Seung-Wan Kim, humanity's newest diplomatic representative, waiting to address concerns that had shaken the foundations of galactic civilization. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. We gather today to discuss the future of our galaxy. Not the future that fear would create, but the future that hope makes possible. The response was immediate and chaotic. Dozens of species began speaking at once, their words overlapping in a cacophony of anxiety and accusation. Chancellor Vorthak, the ancient leader of the Senate, struck his ceremonial gong to restore order. The delegate from Earth will be heard without interruption, then others may respond. Seung-Wan nodded gratefully. 6 months ago, my species was seen as dangerous newcomers who had claimed forbidden territory. Today, 47 species have requested admission to Transcendence Initiative programs. The change has been rapid, and I understand why some of you are concerned. In the audience, Ambassador Zell of the Confederation of Stable Worlds leaned forward. His species had built their entire culture around maintaining the status quo. The rapid changes spreading across the galaxy terrified them. What concerns us, Zell said when given permission to speak, is not just the pace of change but its irreversible nature. Species that undergo these trials are fundamentally altered. We don't know what they might become. Seung-Wan considered her response carefully. Ambassador Zell raises an important point. Change is indeed irreversible. But so is stagnation. The question we must ask is not whether we will change, but whether we will guide that change wisely. Meanwhile, in the Crimson Nebula, Du Yan Choi experienced something unprecedented. His consciousness had become so integrated with Vanguard systems that he existed simultaneously in physical and digital reality. Through this unique perspective, he witnessed the awakening of something ancient. Dr. Wu Jin, he called to his research partner, his voice carrying harmonics that hadn't been there before. I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the deepest parts of the nebula. Something is responding to our progress. Wu Jin studied the readings with growing amazement. These patterns match theoretical descriptions of a Vanguard collective. Consciousness. Do-hyun, I think you've made contact with one of their actual minds. The presence that touched Do-hyun's awareness was vast beyond human comprehension. It had watched the galaxy for 50,000 years, waiting for a species worthy of its full attention. Child of the new path, it spoke directly into his mind. Your species has progressed faster than any before you, but the greatest trials still await. What trials? Do-hyun asked. The trial of unity. Your people must choose whether to remain human while helping others transcend, or whether to merge with the greater consciousness we represent. Back on Earth, the implications of this choice sparked intense debate. Seung-Wan led the faction that advocated for maintaining human identity while serving as guides for others. We are teachers, not gods, she argued before the Global Council. Our role is to help others find their own paths, not to absorb them into ours. Opposition came from unexpected quarters. Dr. Jin-Woo Park, a philosopher who had spent months studying Vanguard archives, disagreed. Seung-Wan, you're thinking too small, he said. The Vanguard offer us the chance to become something greater than any single species. We could join a collective consciousness that spans the galaxy, sharing knowledge and wisdom instantaneously. At the cost of our individuality, Seung-Wan replied. At the cost of what makes us human. The debate reflected larger tensions throughout human space. Enhanced humans were becoming something new, but how new was too new? The crisis came when the first human ship built with full Vanguard consciousness integration was launched. The new Incheon, now commanded by Hanul Jung in her enhanced state, had capabilities that bordered on the miraculous. When a natural disaster struck the Corvin homeworld, Hanul arrived to help. But her methods were so advanced, so far beyond conventional technology, that many species interpreted her actions as a display of threatening power. The human vessel manipulated the planet's core structure directly, reported the Corvin ambassador, to the Senate. They stopped seismic activity by adjusting gravitational fields around the planet. Such power in the hands of any single species is dangerous. Fear spread quickly. Military leaders across the galaxy began asking the same question. If humans could manipulate gravity itself, what would stop them from doing the same to other worlds as a weapon? Hanul tried to address these concerns through diplomatic channels. We use these abilities to save lives, not threaten them. Every action we took was designed to help the Corvin people. But you could have used them to destroy us just as easily, replied the Corvin ambassador. That is what frightens us. The fear was not entirely irrational. Du-Yan's continued integration with Vanguard consciousness had revealed disturbing possibilities. The ancient beings had possessed power sufficient to reshape entire star systems. They could have ruled the galaxy as gods, but chose instead to transcend physical existence entirely. They left because they recognized the temptation, Do-Hyan explained to the research team. Ultimate power corrupts even the most well-intentioned beings. The Vanguard removed themselves from the equation rather than risk becoming tyrants. This revelation added urgency to humanity's choice. Were they destined to follow the same path? Would they eventually need to abandon physical existence to avoid the corruption that absolute power inevitably brought? The answer came from an unexpected source. Chan Wu Li, commanding a defense fleet protecting human civilian colonies, faced an attack from hardline hegemony remnants who refused to accept the new galactic order. The attackers used weapons designed to destroy planets, believing that demonstrating humanity's vulnerability would rally other species to their cause. They were wrong about the rally, but right about creating a test. Chan Wu could have destroyed the attacking fleet instantly. His ship's Vanguard-enhanced weapons could have reduced enemy vessels to their component atoms. Instead, he chose a different path. All ships prepare for defensive action only, he ordered. We protect. We do not destroy. The battle that followed became legendary. Human ships used their advanced capabilities not to attack, but to shield. They absorbed weapons fire that should have been devastating, redirected asteroid bombardments away from populated areas, and evacuated civilians from war zones. When enemy ships suffered battle damage, human vessels immediately offered rescue services. When enemy crews were injured, human medics provided aid regardless of their allegiance. The attackers found themselves in the impossible position of fighting people who refused to fight back, who insisted on helping even those trying to kill them. One by one, enemy ships stopped firing, not because they were defeated, but because they could no longer justify attacking people who responded to violence with compassion. The final enemy commander, Admiral Thane of the Destruction Seekers, transmitted a message that was broadcast across the galaxy. I came here to prove that humans are a threat to galactic peace. Instead, I have learned that we are the threat. These beings could have destroyed us in moments, but chose instead to save us. If this is what power looks like when wielded by the worthy, then perhaps we have been judging worthiness by the wrong standards. Thane's surrender marked the end of organized resistance to humanity's role in the galaxy, but it also marked the beginning of a new challenge. Species across the galaxy began requesting not just admission to Transcendence Initiative programs, but protection from their own violent impulses. They wanted humanity to serve as galactic peacekeepers, using their advanced abilities to prevent wars and resolve conflicts. Xiongwan faced the Senate again, this time to address requests for human intervention in dozens of conflicts. We cannot become the galaxy's police force, she argued. That path leads to the very tyranny we seek to avoid. We can teach, we can heal, we can guide, but we cannot choose for others. But if you have the power to stop suffering, don't you have the responsibility to use it? Asked Chancellor Vorthak. It was the question that had haunted every powerful civilization in galactic history. When did the ability to help become an obligation to control? Xiongwan's answer would determine humanity's future and the fate of every species in the galaxy. We have the power to stop some suffering, she said finally. But we do not have the wisdom to decide which suffering serves a purpose and which does not. Growth requires struggle. Learning requires mistakes. If we prevent all pain, we also prevent all progress. Then what do you propose? We propose partnership, not human leadership, but collaboration. Species that want to transcend their limitations can request guidance. Those that want to remain as they are can do so without interference. And when conflicts arise, we offer mediation, not domination. The proposal was radical. a galactic government based on voluntary participation rather than imposed authority. Species could choose their level of involvement, from complete independence to full integration with Transcendence Initiative programs. The vote was closer than anyone expected, but the proposal passed. Junho Kim stood at the edge of existence itself. His consciousness had expanded beyond the boundaries of physical form, touching the vast network of minds that comprised the Vanguard Collective. Through this connection, he experienced the final revelation that would determine humanity's ultimate destiny. "Show me," he requested of the ancient minds. "Show me what you became and why." The response came not in words but in direct understanding. The Vanguard had faced the same choice now offered to humanity: remain bound by physical existence while serving others, or transcend those limitations to become something greater. They had chosen transcendence, but not in the way Junho expected. "We did not abandon the physical realm," the Vanguard Collective explained. "We learned to exist in both states simultaneously, physical when interaction required it, transcendent when greater perspective was needed." Back in the Senate chambers, Sujin Park presented humanity's final proposal to the assembled galactic representatives. The chamber was quieter than usual, as if the delegates sensed they were witnessing a moment that would reshape civilization itself. "Honored members," Sujin began, "we have reached the culmination of our species' trials. We now offer to share not just enhanced abilities, but the choice between physical and transcendent existence." The implications rippled through the audience. Several delegates rose to speak at once, but Chancellor Vorthak gestured for patience. "Are you suggesting that any species can achieve what the Vanguard achieved?" he asked. "Not any species," Sujin replied honestly. "Only those willing to undergo the complete trial sequence. Only those who prove they can handle ultimate responsibility." Ambassador Zell of the Stable Worlds leaned forward. "And what happens to those who choose not to transcend? Do we become second-class citizens in a galaxy run by ascended beings?" "That's exactly what we're trying to prevent," Sujin assured him. "The transcendent state is not about ruling others. It's about serving them more effectively." To demonstrate this principle, she gestured to a figure materializing beside her. Junho Kim appeared in his transcendent form, his physical body, glowing with inner light while his consciousness stretched across dimensions. "I exist now in both states," he explained, his voice carrying harmonics that touched the minds of every being present. "I can perceive problems across multiple timelines and dimensional layers, but this expanded awareness serves only one purpose: to help others find solutions to challenges they face." As if to prove his point, Junho turned his attention to a crisis developing in real time. The Meridian system was experiencing solar instability that threatened to destroy 3 inhabited worlds. Previous methods of prediction had failed to detect the problem until it was nearly too late. "With your permission," Junho said to the Meridian representative, "I can show you what transcendent perception reveals about your star's condition." The representative, a crystalline being whose species had lived in the Meridian system for millennia, gave nervous consent. Junho extended his consciousness to the distant star, perceiving its internal structure across multiple dimensional layers. "The instability is not random," he reported. "It's a resonance effect caused by gravitational interactions with a dark matter structure that exists partially outside normal space." "Can it be stopped?" the representative asked. "Yes, but not through conventional methods. The solution requires technology that can manipulate dark matter directly." Within hours, human ships equipped with transcendent enhanced technology arrived at Meridian. They worked alongside local scientists to implement a solution that would have been impossible without expanded dimensional awareness. The crisis was resolved without loss of life, but the demonstration raised as many questions as it answered. Chanwu Li, monitoring galactic reactions from his flagship, reported growing concerns among military leaders. "Sir, several species are interpreting our abilities as a security threat. They're asking what happens if transcended humans decide non-transcended species are obstacles to galactic peace." It was a valid concern. History showed that powerful species often concluded that ruling others was more efficient than cooperating with them. The answer came from an unexpected source. Admiral Kresh, former leader of the hegemony forces, requested permission to undergo the full trial sequence himself. "I want to understand what you've become," he told Sujin. "If I'm going to trust you with my species' future, I need to experience your perspective firsthand." The trials for Kresh were adapted to his warrior nature and his species' psychology. Instead of the cooperative challenges that had tested humans, he faced trials of restraint and wisdom. Could he wield ultimate power without using it for conquest? The transformation took months. When it was complete, Kresh emerged as something unprecedented, a transcended being whose entire purpose was protecting the rights of non-transcended species. "I understand now," he reported to the Senate. "Transcendence doesn't make you want to rule others. It makes you realize that ruling others is the least effective way to help them grow." Kresh became humanity's strongest advocate among species, concerned about transcendent power. His warrior's perspective carried weight with military leaders who might dismiss human assurances as naivety. "They could conquer us all tomorrow if they chose," he told a gathering of defense ministers. "The fact that they haven't, the fact that they keep helping us instead proves their intentions better than any words could." The Transcendence Initiative expanded rapidly as more species completed the trial sequences. Each culture that transcended added new perspectives and capabilities to the growing collective of enhanced beings. The Altarians contributed telepathic, healing methods that could repair psychological trauma across entire populations. The Vesteri provided analytical capabilities that solved resource distribution problems. The Corvin offered biological expertise that ended disease and extended lifespans. But the most significant contribution came from the least expected source: the Destruction Seekers, Admiral Thane's former species. Their trials focused on transforming destructive impulses into creative ones. When they transcended, they became master builders, capable of constructing megastructures that enhanced life across entire star systems. "We spent millennia trying to destroy what others built," Thane explained to the Senate. "Now we build what others need to grow." The galaxy was transforming into something unprecedented, a collaborative civilization where transcended beings served as gardeners, tending the growth of all life while respecting the choices of those who preferred to remain unchanged. But the greatest transformation was yet to come. Doohyun Choi, now fully integrated with the Vanguard collective consciousness, made contact with intelligences from beyond the galaxy. Other collectives, other transcended civilizations had been watching humanity's progress with interest. "We are not alone," he reported to the Transcended Council. "There are others like us throughout the universe." The Vanguard were part of a vast network of ascended civilizations. The implications were staggering. Transcendence was not an endpoint but a beginning. Enhanced species eventually made contact with galactic neighbors, forming larger networks of cooperation and growth. "Are we ready for that step?" asked Junho. "We may not have a choice," Do-hyun replied. "Something is coming, a challenge, that will require cooperation on a cosmic scale." The final revelation came through dreams shared among all transcended beings simultaneously. Images of vast ships approaching from intergalactic space, carrying refugees from a dying galaxy. Billions of beings fleeing a cosmic catastrophe that had consumed their entire home. "They're not invaders," Sujin realized. "They're survivors seeking sanctuary." The approaching refugee fleet represented over 1,000 species, including several that had achieved transcendence in their home galaxy before being forced to flee. They brought warnings of cosmic cycles that periodically swept through the universe, forcing civilizations to migrate or perish. This is why the Vanguard left their trials, Junho understood. They were preparing their successors for challenges that spanned cosmic timescales. The galaxy that had once feared humanity's growth now looked to them for leadership in preparing for the greatest challenge any civilization could face: the arrival of an entire galaxy's worth of refugees. Captain Hyunwoo, now transcended but retaining his explorer's heart, stood on the observation deck of New Busan Station. The facility had grown to encompass entire star systems, serving as a training ground for species preparing for cosmic challenges. Did you ever imagine it would lead to this? Dr. Yunji asked, joining him in contemplating the approaching refugee fleet. I thought we were exploring a dangerous nebula, Hyunwoo replied. I never imagined we were taking the first steps toward, becoming guardians of the universe. And now? Now we do what humans have always done. We help. The final scene showed ships from hundreds of transcended and non-transcended species working together to prepare for the refugees' arrival. Space stations the size of planets were constructed to house the displaced. Entire star systems were prepared for terraforming to create new homes. The Crimson Nebula had become the heart of a galactic civilization dedicated to growth, cooperation, and service. The region that was once forbidden had become the birthplace of a new cosmic order.